Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. James Gunn and DC just released a Supergirl teaser trailer because they're going to be releasing a whole bunch more footage real soon, so we'll break it all down. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs here, and this is meant to connect to Superman 2, the Man of Tomorrow. Obviously, it's meant to follow up on the Supergirl scene from the end of the first Superman movie this past year, so if you're brand new to the channel, of course I'll be doing all the videos for the movie and everything connected for the DCU, even though they did just announce that Netflix is trying to buy Warner Brothers, and it seems like they actually will at some point. Do not worry, I will also explain how that's going to affect the upcoming DC movies and DCU TV shows that James Gunn is working on right now. For the most part, it will not affect the Supergirl movie because that's happening so soon, and it's going to take so long for this Netflix Warner Brothers buyout thing to happen. Absolutely cannot wait to see what Jason Momoa's Lobo is going to look like during this movie. He's just absolutely going to wreck everybody. He's been waiting his entire life to play Lobo. As far as James Gunn has let on, the Supergirl movie is meant to take place after the events of the Supergirl scene at the end of the Superman movie, and therefore after the end of Peacemaker Season 2, or alongside Peacemaker Season 2. It is meant to be an adaptation of the Supergirl Man of Tomorrow comic book by Tom King, but they're going to make a couple of changes. For instance, Jason Momoa's Lobo, probably one of the biggest gets for the movie, is not in the original comic book that they're adapting that Tom King wrote. So there will be some tweaks, but the comic book is out there, so you can actually go read the basic story beats. It will follow at least the basic story beats. What it seems like is happening in the actual scene that they posted online, this actual teaser, is that she's waiting for a ride to get to the other planet to help Ruthie out after she's been at the space bar getting drunk on her 21st birthday under a red sun. That's the whole idea. They kind of teased that at the end of the Superman movie, is that because of their biology, the way their powers work, they can't get drunk under a yellow sun. DCU Supergirl, played by Alcock, is meant to be a way wilder child than Melissa's Supergirl in the Arrowverse. They kind of wrote her version of Supergirl to be more like classic Superman, so they obviously wanted to differentiate the characters even more in the DCU. So this is one of the reasons for making this version of Supergirl, Millie Alcock's version, so different from Superman, so that they don't just feel like the exact same character, just gendered differently. This scene is also meant to explain how she gets back to Earth at the end of the Superman movie from being off-world under a red sun getting drunk again. She basically just hitches rides on interstellar spaceships, basically interstellar Uber. They're going to get into this during the Green Lantern HBO series Lanterns. We should get a trailer for that pretty soon too, but there is a very active cosmic DCU too, so there's a lot of stuff going on off-world beyond Earth that they just haven't shown yet as of the Superman movie. We got a few vibes of that during Peacemaker Season 2, but the Supergirl movie is meant to be a legit sci-fi, space-based movie. This is also another way of broadening the DCU in general, getting more cosmic with the DCU, James Gunn said, but also just pushing beyond what you've seen before in the Arrowverse, which is mostly set on planet Earth. I think there's a little bit of cosmic stuff they got into during the Arrowverse and Supergirl and the Superman series, but for the most part, they were Earth-based series. Probably one of the other biggest misconceptions, too, is that James Gunn was not involved in the writing or the directing of the Supergirl movie, too, so it's not a James Gunn movie in the way that the Superman movie was written and directed by him. So that's also why it feels very, very different, but also the comic book that Tom King wrote is toned very differently from Superman. But it seems like during the events of this teaser, she's already been asked by Ruthie to go after Krem of the Yellow Hills to get revenge for the death of her father. Ruthie wants to kill Krem to get revenge for her father, and she needs Supergirl's help to do it. But one of the big problems during this actual series is that Supergirl is under a red sun, so she doesn't have the same power levels that she would normally have in Earth's orbit. Krem is also a big threat because he hires a bunch of mercenaries during the original comic book, but I think what they're doing is they're substituting Lobo's character for those mercenaries, so I think the idea is that Krem goes to Jason Momoa's Lobo to get rid of Supergirl. During the CCXP panel, they actually showed a picture of Lobo's axe that he used in the comics, and in the context of the DCU, it seems green here, so it might actually be made of kryptonite. That would actually be wicked. Because of the way Lobo's powers work, he's meant to be one of the few characters that can go toe-to-toe with Superman and Supergirl, so he is a legitimate threat, even when they're under Earth's yellow sun. So you have to imagine on top of all that, Supergirl has one of her hands tied behind her back because she's under a red sun during most of this movie. But probably one of the funniest things, you might remember this, Jason Momoa talking about fanboying over Lobo for like 2 minutes straight. This is basically him calling his shot Babe Ruth style, saying that he was always destined to be Lobo inside the DCU.
Well, I originally thought I was going to be playing Lobo in the very beginning because I got called in. I auditioned for Batman, and I almost didn't do it because I was like, this is silly. it's not going to be me. Why am I auditioning for Batman?
Right.
But it was just a run-of-the-mill audition.
Right.
And then I get called in right after, and Affleck gets announced. And I'm like, of course I'm going to play the bad guy.
Right.
It's not too many guys that can kick the shit out of those two.
Right,
so I was like, yeah, I'll come in and beat him up. And die like I do.
Sure.
Good,
good dyer.
Yeah, you're a good dyer. Anyways, I got called in the office, and I was just like, well, do you know who you're going to play? And I'm like, yeah, Lobo. Yeah. Of course. He's the only one that can fight Batman and Superman. Anyways, yes. But so Lobo is, I used to collect comics, and I don't do so much anymore, but he was always my favorite. And I'm like, always wanted to play Lobo because I'm like, hello. It's perfect. It's perfect role.
Isn't it funny how he said that even when he was going to be cast as Aquaman in the DCEU by Zack Snyder in the Warner Brothers Power That Be at that time, he said that he thought that it was kind of ridiculous, and he kept thinking when they were bringing him in to screen test for Aquaman, he thought that he was screen testing for Lobo. Like the way they wrote the Aquaman character at the time sounded to him, like before he knew it was Aquaman, that it was going to be Lobo the whole time. This is the other reason why they released this first look, because the actual scene of Supergirl takes place at the very beginning of the Supergirl movie, and what's happening in the actual scene that they're filming here, you can see it behind her even though she's facing away from the camera. You notice she's wearing a jacket over her Supergirl suit. She's actually inside a place called the Whale Tower, which is like a space bar on the other side of the universe, celebrating her 21st birthday, getting drunk as hell. That's right, Supergirl and Superman can get drunk under certain circumstances. It just takes a lot of booze. And at the beginning of that story, the main villain of the movie, Krem of the Yellow Hills, played by this actor here, kills a farmer, then runs away leaving his sword impaled in the farmer's chest. His daughter, Ruthie, finds his body, then goes on a revenge quest to hire someone to kill him at the Whale Tower nearby. The first person she asks takes her sword from her, slaps her around, and tells her to forget about it and tries to leave with the sword. Supergirl stops him, drunk as hell, orders him to give the sword back, then he tries very unsuccessfully to kill her because she's Supergirl, she's super strong. He slashes her with the sword, but it just bounces off of her, destroying her clothing, revealing her Supergirl symbol underneath her outer jacket here. She winds up beating the hell out of him and then eventually helping Ruthie. So it's a little bit like vibes of the Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill. If you remember at the beginning of that film, when he's at the bar and those people try to start some shit with him, he winds up turning the other cheek, but in the Supergirl movie, she definitely does not turn the other cheek because she's drunk as hell. So even though she has a no-kill rule that she makes a big deal about during the movie, she beats the hell out of them and then eventually helps Ruthie. David Krumholtz and Emily Beecham revealed that they're playing her Kryptonian parents, so we'll actually learn more about the House of El through this Supergirl movie. People have been asking questions about that, especially because of Jor-El's message during the events of the Superman movie was very controversial. James Gunn said that the message was meant to be real, but the movie itself didn't push too deeply into Kryptonian lore. It sounds like we'll get more of that through Supergirl's character because she actually remembers living on Krypton. You have to remember that she was sent to Earth in her pod long after she'd matured. So she'd been around for a long time before Krypton was destroyed. So she remembers way more about Kryptonian history that Superman should actually be asking her questions about if he hasn't already.
Why did you move the door?
I didn't move the door.
Hey, where is my dog?
Way back in the time before time, during the Arrowverse, they did both her human parents and her Kryptonian parents with the CW version of the character. Helen Slater from the Supergirl 1980s movie came back to be that mother, and Dean Cain, also a former Superman, came back to be her human father. Her Kryptonian parents were played by completely different people in a really big Smallville Superman deep cut. At a certain point in the later seasons, they recast her mother Allura with, of all people, Erica Durance. She even got to meet with her after a couple big twists on those shows. Everybody post all your immediate reactions in the comments below. I'm not expecting them to put a whole bunch of Lobo, Jason Momoa stuff in that first big teaser trailer, but eventually he will probably be a bigger part of the marketing. When you put Jason Momoa in your movie, you're going to want to put him in your trailers. You want people to know that he is in this movie so they come and go see it. I know there's a billion questions about how the Warner Brothers Netflix buyout is going to affect everything. James Gunn and Peter Safran's contracts were just announced to have been renewed through 2027, so they're at least safe to 2027 in the next couple of movies that they're working on right now, like Batman Brave and the Bold. As part of Netflix's official statements, they've said that they don't plan on changing anything that James Gunn is doing with the DC movies or the DC TV shows, but you'll see more of that stuff get added to Netflix over time. They're keeping the HBO Max streaming service around for at least several years before they try and roll everything up into the Netflix app. It's not really till all of their existing contracts for movie releases in theaters are up before Netflix can really start changing the way that Warner Brothers and DC start making their movies and releasing them. So for the most part, the DCU is going to proceed the way that James Gunn wants it to for the next several years, but beyond that, like 7-8 years out, it's anybody's guess. Like, it's too far ahead to predict. Netflix will eventually probably change stuff in bigger ways, but not for a long, long time. Streets are currently saying that they're going to release the full teaser trailer on Thursday. Of course, I will do all the videos for it when they do. Supposedly, there's going to be an Avengers Doomsday teaser trailer people are saying are also coming out on Thursday. We will see if the dates change for some of that stuff so they don't release them at the exact same time on the exact same day. But whatever they wind up doing, of course, I will do all the videos. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff. Everybody click here for that full Supergirl teaser trailer video. I'll update the link as soon as I post that. And click here for my Avengers Doomsday trailer video. I'll also update the link as soon as that posts as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.